Great. Over to you, Karen, and greetings, colleagues. We are ready.
Okay, cool. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining so early on a Saturday. I'm an early riser, so this is not early for me. I am the manager of Contribution Compass. I've been working there for over 3 years. I'm a mom of 2 small kids, hence why it's not early for me, 9 o'clock in the morning. I was up at 6. And yeah, I just really got, I actually came across Contribution Compass when I had got retrenched. I was in a company for over 10 years, 11 years in the advertising industry. And I got gifted a Contribution Compass profile after I had been served retrenchment papers. And I chose not to go and reapply for any of the jobs that were on offer. And the reason for that is after 10 years of being so loyal to a company, I realized that I actually wasn't in my zone of flow. That's why every year, every time they kept on changing my job description and promoting me. And was I good at what I did? Yes. Was I feeling drained? Yes. And I think things just came into perspective when I had my daughter and the retrenchment papers came, and I was like, you know what, if I'm not going to change now, I'm never going to change. I'm going to be stuck, and I'm going to keep doing things that I'm told that I'm good at. And I'm going to feel drained and stuck, and I'm going to feel like I'm working every day. And the whole point of being in your zone of flow and in your natural energy, which I'll discuss with you, is that you don't feel like you're working. It's not to say that everything you do in your job is going to be hunky-dory and you're going to feel like, oh, this is amazing, I'm not even working. But 80% of your job should be in your natural flow of energy. And there will be 20% that you don't enjoy doing, but that's okay because you have to do that part of your job. So just to give you an indication, Contribution Compass was started by Cole Bates and Belinda Doveston, and it's based on Carl Jung's work. And it's called the I Ching. So if you guys want to read up on the I Ching, it's very, very interesting, very, very complex. And I won't have the capacity to go through that with you at the moment, but that's basically what the tool is about. These are just a couple of companies that obviously we've worked with. Kametsa is one of our value partners. We are partner-centric model. So we don't go directly to the end user. We recruit partners who then, as coaches and as trained facilitators, you know, obviously work with the end users, whether they're businesses or individuals or like entrepreneurs. They work with them in order to coach them on what their natural energy is and to give them obviously the guidance and help that they need. So we talk about natural versus learned abilities. And I like to give my brother-in-law as an example, who is a very successful software engineer. And even my husband, who's a successful software engineer. They both study a BSc, IT. They are really good developers, software developers. And it's just so interesting how they were working really, really hard because they are skilled. They've learned how to code. But if I have to tell you now that they're both in very different job titles in the software engineering industry. So they both work for a software engineering house. But my husband is now the head of human capital, and his brother is a team lead. And it's so interesting how they both love their jobs at the moment. And the reason why is because what they didn't even realize is that they have now worked according to their natural energy or their Contribution Compass profile. So my brother-in-law used to always work hard, and he wasn't the most amazing coder, but he was a great coder. And what had happened is the company had approached him and said, listen, we see that you're really good with people and we'd like to make you a team lead. And he said, well, that's a bit out of what I think I'm good at, but let me take the leap and do it. And when I did his profile post that, I said to him, how's your job going? And he was like, I'm loving every minute of it. I love dealing with people. Obviously, there's challenges, and I know that sometimes I want to let people to like me too much, so I have to be quite strong. But in all, I find this a lot more fulfilling than sitting behind a desk and coding all day. And I said, I actually want to use you as a case study. Can I take your profile? And when I took his profile, it was very interesting that he came out as a coach profile, which, as you'll see when I go through this, it's someone that really loves working with people. And I said, well, this makes so much sense. You've got a very high calibrator spark. Calibrator spark is, he's a good calibrator because of learned behavior, but his natural energy is a coach. And I said to him, that makes so much sense that you are really in your flow. And I'm glad that they saw you and they saw the potential and your natural instinct and your natural energy, and they moved you into the right role. So I love this quote from Albert Einstein, and I actually had this quote printed when I was at my previous job. And it's, everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. And I felt that sometimes in my old job, because they wanted us to be, I mean, also this is obviously a level of management. Certain managers were obviously better than others, but they want you to be a jack of all trades. And I used to sit there and try and do copywriting, and I never used to get the copywriting right, but that wasn't my natural strength. So I used to sit there and think, oh, Karen, you just can't do this. Or I used to try and sell. They used to put me in the sales position, and then I used to go and present, and even though I used to really have to work hard, and even though I was good at it, it took a lot of my energy to do that. And then they moved me to an client service role, which I was brilliant at because I genuinely am good with people, but it drained my energy when I got home. When I got home, I was so tired. I can remember my husband, then boyfriend, used to say to me, so how was your day? And I used to be like, I can't talk right now. Let's just watch a movie and let's chat about other stuff. So it was just very interesting how every position that I was moved to, and the position that I kept fighting for, they were like, no, there's no position there for you for that. And that was actually my natural energy. I kept on saying to them, just make me a project manager. Let me check up on people's stuff. Let me check the risks. Let me do this. And they were like, no, you're not good at that. You're good at client service and you're good at this. And I was like, yes, I am good at it, but it's taking up my energy. That was obviously before I knew about Contribution Compass. So what is natural energy? And everyone owes it to themselves to know what natural energy is and what their overall profile is. Natural energy is your default button. It's your default button. It's when you hit a critical moment in your life, you turn to this energy to solve a problem and to create a solution. So as we said, lots of learned behavior. I've learned a lot of things. I've learned a lot of things in my life, just like everyone has. And often we see a lot of people that have, especially entrepreneurs, that have had to become a jack of all trades, because you have to, especially if you're starting with a business by yourself, you have to do a lot of things. That's not to say you must just only do your natural energy. Obviously, when you start a business and as an entrepreneur, you have to do everything. But if you know where your natural energy and what your profile is, it's very easy for you to recruit the right people as soon as you expand your business. So you would say, okay, cool, I came out as a coach. I know that I'm great at this. If I'm going to expand my business, I know that I need to hire this person because that's not my natural energy. It's going to drain me. We're going to get tired and I'm going to get resentful and I'm going to be like, I don't want to be an entrepreneur anymore. And that shouldn't stifle your passion. You should do what is in your natural energy. So natural energy is a critical or defining moment, which is usually a brief and intense pressure or turning point in which the decision you make or action you take dramatically impacts your journey, either positively or negatively. So, for instance, the minute there was a crisis in any time in my life, I never ask about the people. But certain people will always ask about the people. I never ask about the what question. I always ask the how. How are we going to fix this? And it drives other energies insane because they're like, you haven't even asked like the full detail. You just want to go jump in and how you're going to fix it. Because my natural energy at a critical moment or stressful situation will always default to that word. How are we going to fix it? People in the coaching industry will say, okay, we've just lost our best client at the moment. Who are we calling? We're going to go call the client. We're going to ask him if there's any way that we can fix this. The first question that they'll ask is who. If you are in the sustaining energy space, you will ask all the when and where questions. And if you're in the activating energy space, you'll ask what. What is the key question. And I'll go through that in detail with you. But it's just key to know that whenever there's a critical moment, you will respond according to your natural energy. And that's where your true colors show. I like to say it's true colors because, you know, you can only put a facade on for so long, or what you think you are good at, whatever. But the minute someone gives you a crisis, it's very clear what energy or what profile you are when you respond to that. So where the magic happens is where everyone is now going to give their maximum contribution. And what that is that when all team members are in flow, so every team member in your organization is working according to their natural energy and their profile. They love making a difference. They feel they're contributing, and everyone understands each other really well. So it's not just understanding yourself. Contribution compass is not like a Myers-Briggs or a personality test that is all about you. It's about you, what contribution you're making to the workplace, and how you can better improve your communication with other team members. So there are obviously 3 types of flow. There's peak flow, low flow, and no flow. And what the whole point is that you should be in peak flow, where you are obviously, the challenge and the skills are balanced and you are perfectly in flow. You don't feel bored, you don't feel anxious, you know exactly what you're doing. And that's not to say that we're going to get the perfect job, because every job has got elements of it that you don't enjoy. And unfortunately, the reality is, as I say, you should be in peak flow, with sometimes when you're a little bit in low flow because it's activities or things that you have to do that you don't enjoy. So when you feel focused and energized, you are able to concentrate on the activity without interruptions. Shows that you're in peak flow and you're going according to your natural energy. You are totally aligned and engaged with the task at hand. So have you ever like started a task and you look at your watch and you're like, I can't believe I've been sitting in my laptop for 2 hours and it hasn't felt like 2 hours? That is basically you've been in flow. You've been aligned and engaged, and you've been able to concentrate on what you're doing because it's something that interests you and is within your natural energy. You're playing to your strengths, and it comes easily and naturally to you. You're totally immersed in the task. You're not, like sometimes I get tasks that I have to do, and I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, Karen, just go make yourself a cup of coffee. Go run and make myself a cup of coffee. You sit with a cup of coffee. You start doing 10 minutes of it and you're like, oh, this is so not my type of thing to do. Then you're like, okay, cool. Answer a couple of emails first and then come back to it. That's not when you are focusing according to your profile. Your subjective experience of time is altered. Like I said, you lose track of it. Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go through the 8 contribution compass profiles in detail because this is not an overview of all the 8 profiles. What this is trying to tell you is that there are 8 profiles. You could be one of them. The only way you can actually determine if you're one of them is you could check soundproof and be like, oh, I'm sure I'm that, or I'm sure I'm that, but you do the contribution compass profiler. And what that will tell you is it will tell you what your overall energy is, what your secondary profiles are, and where your learned behavior is. And I'm going to run through that quite, not fast, but just at a faster pace, because I think that it's good to know all the 8 energies so that you can get a bird's eye view of all of them. But obviously you need to focus on your own energy. Okay, so a catalyst. A catalyst is someone that likes to accelerate change. Okay, so a catalyst is a person who likes to get any form of reaction. They are generally the entrepreneurs. They like to spark a new idea. They like to lead a new project. They like to come up with new things. They are brilliant. You think of people like Elon Musk and you think of Steve Jobs, and those are the type of people that I would imagine catalysts to be. And when they are mature, and we talk about a profile that's mature and immature, because we don't like to use strengths and weaknesses. We believe that everyone has strengths and your profile only has strengths, but you can overcompensate on your strengths and then not see the wood from the trees and other people and how they perceive you. And what can happen is if you are an immature catalyst, is that you can push an idea too much and you would want a result extremely quickly. But you don't know how much effort and detail it takes for someone to do that. So you could really upset some of your team members because you're like, okay, where is it? Why hasn't it been actioned yet? Where is all of this stuff? You could also not communicate well. So what catalysts tend to do is they don't give a lot of detail. They give the end product and then they say, go. And then you get all the other energy saying, okay, but I don't understand now. What are you talking about? Like, can you give me some more detail? And they get quite frustrated. But catalysts are amazing at accelerating change. And the two profiles next to the catalyst are the calibrator and the champion. And what generally happens is a catalyst will swing between those two profiles. And we'll go into detail about those. And the reason why we often swing between the profiles, imagine you go to gym and you've got three pieces of equipment. There's always one piece of equipment that you can go through seamlessly, like the treadmill, the step walker, and weights. You'll always notice that there's one piece of machinery that you always favor and you feel like it's not such a big deal when you go to the gym and you do them. But then there's always two other machines that you have to do, but they take a little bit more effort. And you could see this as your secondary profiles, but they are more prevalent than the other profiles. So then your secondary profiles of a catalyst is a calibrator and a champion. I'm not going to focus too much on the secondary profiles, but it's good to see when I show you the full compass, how the profiles all work together. Then following the catalyst, we have so this is just an example of a catalyst profile. You can see high activating energy right at the top of the contribution compass profile. And as you can see, there's all the four energies. So catalysts have got very high activating energies, which is the red. You can see this person has got 36% activating energy, 20 inspiring, 21 sustaining, and 21 refining. So it's very clear that this person's in the active energy space and they pendulum swing between the calibrator and the champion profile. Okay, and then here we go. Talent is extremely important. It's like a sports team. The team that has the best individual player often wins. But then there's a multiplier from how those players work together and the strategy they employ. So that's obviously from a very well-known catalyst. I mean, obviously he hasn't taken his contribution compass profile, but as I said, if you have to look at him, he's definitely a catalyst energy. Then we go to the champion profile, which is between the activating and inspiring energy space, and they blaze a trail. Okay, they alternate between the catalyst and the coach energy, and they are really good at bringing people's attention to something, changing up a belief system, and making sure that that message gets heard. And they are really good salespeople, and they are really good marketing, really good at marketing and getting people to believe their idea. Okay, they are also really great at new ideas. They're extremely good at problem solving because they have the right amount of balance between coach and catalyst. But what they often do is they also can drive people to the point where they only focus on how pretty something is, how something looks, as opposed to all the detail. So what you'll often find with a champion is that they'll often say I a lot. So they'll say, I want to do this, I want to do that. An immature champion will only focus on themselves and they won't focus on their team members. And an immature champion will only will focus on how they are perceived in the public. So they really are concerned about how people perceive them and they want to be perceived as superior, where a catalyst doesn't really care. They're kind of like, this is the way I am and go, go, go. Whereas a champion has got this image, this type of image that they want to uphold. This is an example of a champion energy. As you can see, it's been pulled towards champion because it does have activating energy, but the inspiring energy has pulled them down so that they become a champion energy. Not all champion diagrams look the same. This champion profile, the spidergram, which I like to call it, looks very different to another champion. The other champion might have a very high cultivator spike or connector spike. The nice thing about contribution compass is everyone's diagrams look completely different. Then, obviously, Oprah says, surround yourself with only people who are going to lift you higher, which is perfectly an Oprah saying. We get the coach, which is all about igniting greatness. And these are amazing team leaders, like I spoke about my brother-in-law. They have the ability to create fire and passion and get a team focused on something. They're all about the people. They always want to ask who. They want to see how people are doing. They want to ask, how are you feeling in this job at the moment? They do swing between a champion profile and a connector profile. And when they are immature coaches, what they find is they so badly want to be people pleasers that they tend to not hold people accountable, which is not great, because what happens is your team member become a group of friends as opposed to, you know, obviously working as an organization. But they are amazing MDs. They are amazing HR people. And they're really good at understanding people, and people just naturally connect with them. They don't talk a lot about themselves. They always like to ask people questions about the other person. This is an example of a coach profile. And as you can see, the inspiring energy is the highest of all the 4 natural energies. Then, because you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. That is exactly what a coach would focus on, is how can I mentor, how can I grow someone? Then we've got the connector profile, which is very, very rare profile, funny enough. It's not a very common profile, and that just could be based on the sample that we've got to date. I haven't met a lot of connector people, but when you meet a connector, you know they are connectors straight away. And what they like to do is they like to build bridges. And building bridges means getting this person and this person to form together to create a relationship. So what will happen is often a connector will say, I know a guy that can help you with something. So what will happen is often they'll say, you know what, have you met up with this person in order to find out how they can work together? So they have a special gift at uniting the right people at the right place and at the right time. But what often happens is that they sometimes want to focus on the relationship and how they can get these 2 people together, that they don't actually grow themselves or their business. So all they become is this bridge and this networking opportunity, which is not really going to serve the business. They obviously excel in communication and being able to talk through ideas, challenges, and solutions to create a collective way forward. Then this is an example of a connector profile, okay, which is you can see over here, it's very clear that the connector spike is the highest, but you can see that the custodian energy or the sustaining energy is the reason why I pulled it towards the connector energy. Okay, then if you give people reasons to believe in their work, that helps them see they are part of a larger mission. They will look to improve the experience of the customer. So that's a really, really great comment from Howard Schultz. And we're now going to come to custodian. And this is just such a perfect picture of what a custodian energy is about. It's all about being precise and getting the job done right. And a custodian is all about honoring the promise. You will never, ever meet a custodian that gives a promise that they can't keep. They always over-deliver, under-promise. If they tell you they're going to give you something on time, they give you something on time. There are amazing people at client service because they do have a little bit of inspiring energy, but they are focused on delivery. It doesn't matter if you are an account executive and you are just about taking your client to lunch all day. That is not going to get the job done. A custodian says what they are going to do and then they do it. So they excel in getting tasks done, maintain routines, and honor commitments and deadlines. Okay. But what they can do as an immature custodian is they can get so caught up in the project plan and how they want to do something that any form of activating energy that comes in and says, oh, let's change this, let's change this. They can be very stifled, they can be very upset, and they will not budge. They'll be like, no, this is what we agreed on, and this is what we're going to do. And the problem with that is they can foresee a lot of changes that activating energies can bring. They can really change a business around, but they will focus on the fact that it's not according to the plan and that they don't want to actually move. So they can be quite rigid in their approach to a plan. This is an example of a custodian energy. You can see the high sustaining energy, cultivator spark, connector spark. This custodian is actually very interesting because they've got a high activating and sustaining energy. So as I said before, this is not to say that all custodians don't have any activating energy, and this is how all their diagrams look. You can see that this is a very different diagram. This is a very hourglass figure, but this is definitely a custodian energy. What's nice to see is that they've got high calibrator, catalyst, and champion sparks, which we often perceive as learned behavior that they've learned by things that they've studied and things that they've done. Then a cultivator, which is me. This side. A cultivator is all about nurturing growth. And it's so interesting because I was gifted my contribution compass profile by my friend. Well, it was actually a next door neighbor, Carl Bates, who started Contribution Compass. And it was very interesting when he saw my profile, and he had a space in the business to get a manager in. And he said, it's so interesting that you are a cultivator. And at the moment, we are trying to recruit for a manager to join the business. I, of course, being very, very risk averse, because that's exactly what a cultivator is. I was like, are you sure? I don't think so. Actually, also, we are, I've just come out of a 10-year job. I don't want to just jump into the next thing. Very cautious of me as a cultivator. I'm happy to help if you are happy with me, but I want to go on a 2-month contract first to see how the relationship goes and how this works out and whether we're both happy with each other and blah, 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 because I don't want to commit to something where it could be risky. And Carl, knowing me, and as a champion energy, Carl, who's very quick at marketing and selling the idea to me, and knowing me, said to me, Karen, that's absolutely fine. Let's go on a 2-month contract. Let's see how you like it. And let's take it from there. And that for me was a comfortable space. And obviously, I really enjoyed what I was doing. And he really was great at reading me, because what cultivators generally do when they are learning something in a job is they go and they gather information and they sit in their little corner and they read and they analyze and they go through stuff. And champions will say, like, how's it going? How's it going? Other energies will say, this is this, and this is this. And I would be like, it's going well. And he would say, great. And you'd get off the phone. And the reason is because cultivators like to analyze, internalize. And I always used to get so irritated with myself in my previous company because I always used to feel like I never caught the stuff as quick as other people. Not to say that I'm slow, but I always used to be like, okay, I get that. And I always used to ask all the questions because I really wanted to know the detail. And refining energies, where cultivator sits on the cusp of refining and sustaining, we always want to find the detail. So when an idea is given to us, we don't just take it at face value and look at the big picture. We want to dissect it and we want to understand how it goes. An immature cultivator can get very stuck. And that has happened to me. You can get very stuck. You don't want to move. You want to get direction from people because you're too scared that you're going to make the wrong decision. Very poor decision makers, unless they have done all their research. So if they can substantiate their research, they're great decision makers. But if they are overly cautious, they need another profile like a champion, which is why Carl and I work well together, to make the last call and just say, okay, cool, I think you should do this. And then they are really good at getting direction from people. And then obviously being good project managers and managers. So you can see a cultivator here, very, very clear. My cultivator profile doesn't look like this. This is extremely focused on refining energy and very little inspiring energy. I have got the lowest in the inspiring energy space, but I still have a lot more inspiring energy than this cultivator. And the reason why I also have high inspiring energy is because I was inclined service for a very long time. And I do actually enjoy people. I do enjoy working with people, but can I do it every day? No. So it really just depends on every person. No cultivator or conductor or catalyst are all the same. And then we go to the last, okay, so let me just read this one from Warren Buffett. Having first-rate people on the team is more important than designing hierarchies and clarifying who reports to whom. We get the conductor energy. And this is my other side of my pendulum because I'm a cultivator. And what happens with me is sometimes I can go into conductor mode, which can be very harsh, very to the point, and very data focused. And we need conductors. We need so many conductors in our life because just like with the orchestra, how do you play a piece of music without someone leading the way and being so specific and so according to detail without it working out 100% perfect? A conductor is like a person of an orchestra. They uses their focused and efficient energy to direct the singular instruments of the orchestra into a unified and optimized collective. They're all about optimizing things. Everyone must stick to their role and what they need to do, and they're not people focused. When they are in high conductor mode, systems are more important than people. And that is something that they need to work on if they are immature. A mature conductor is really great at getting a business up and running, and they're really good at making sure that something functions so efficiently that it really creates a lot of return for the business. Obviously, a lot of order, obviously a lot of information. Conductors are often could be people like accountants, lawyers, people that are focused on a lot of detail. But I say that, and my Carl, who is a chartered accountant, is a conductor energy. And you will see that he does have some conductor spark in his diagram, but he is overall a champion. So you could put him behind a desk and let him become a CA, but he is going to be tired because he wants to rally up people, market, sell, be the face of, and that's just his natural energy. So this is a key example of a conductor energy. You can see very low inspiring, but you do get some conductors that can still have high inspiring energy. And this is quite interesting from Jeff Bezos. If you can't feed a team with 2 pizzas, it's too large. And that is really, well, it's not really true because I think team members are all, and teams are all different, but it's really good to not have quantity over quality. So having the right team members doing the right roles can really minimize your team size and make sure that they all work efficiently together. And the last profile is called a calibrator. And these people are very, very interesting. They're fine-tuning the instruments. What they like to do is they're not really good. They can come up with great ideas because they've got the pendulum swing between the catalyst and the conductor. But they are really good at taking a current system and fixing. They're very good at refining an existing idea. So they're good at taking an idea that has already come up and saying, you know what, this is how we could fix it. So they're very focused on order, detail, let's correct it, which is amazing because they always better something. But the problem with the problem is they're so focused on perfectionism and things being perfect that often they just keep refining something, but they never go live with anything. They're like, okay, cool, no, but we could do this better. We could do this better. And that's when they need someone like a champion or a catalyst to say, okay, let's launch. And if you want to find it later, that's fine. But we can't stifle efficiency and development. And let's not look for only the flaws in the actual thing. Let's look at how we can make this efficient. Is it good enough? You know, they say, and I'm trying to teach, trying to learn this myself sometimes. And I'm also trying to teach my daughter this, who wants to make the most beautiful pictures. She's only 6, but she is an art. I can see she's got an artistic spirit, and she wants to do the most beautiful things. So when she's given a task from the teacher, she wants to make it so beautiful. And I had to say to her, but you need to finish on time sometimes. You need to finish because that's, you know, it's a task and it has a beginning and an end. And even though you want this to look beautiful, done is better than perfect. And that's something that I had to teach her because she really wants to go into the image, draw the most detailed picture with they'll say, draw a girl with a dress on and 10 trees around and a pattern around the border. And in grade R, they call it a key card. And she'll take it and she'll be like, oh, I'm so excited to do this. But then she draws the leaves on the trees with such detail. And by the time she's finished her tree that looks immaculate, the boys who have got very little, and I'm saying the boys because I know that that's the stereotypical, because I'm sure there's a lot of boys that love detail, but a lot of boys in grade R don't like to draw. They're just like, okay, let's get the task done so I can go kick a soccer ball outside. They tick off all the things. Is their drawing pretty? Define pretty. It's done. So it's trying to get a balance between the two. And that's something that I picked up from my daughter very early in grade R, is that the teacher was like, she is so beautiful at what she does, but she needs to focus on not making it perfect. And then there's obviously the calibrator energy. You can see high activating, high refining generally. Calibrators can go to catalyst, so they can be very creative. Same as my daughter, who when she's in calibrator mode, can be very creative. She'll draw things, so she doesn't copy drawing, she draws things out of her head. So she can be very creative at doing these things. And then obviously calibrators can be very conductor focused, because what they can say is like, no, it has to be this way. And they can focus too much on the system that they're creating, and they will not even listen to any of the people and what the people's opinions are. Okay. So James Dyson says, I made 5,127 prototypes of my vacuum before I got it right. There were 5,126 failures, but I learned from each one. That's how I came up with the solution. And it's Calibrator is all about persistence. And it's that fine line of finding when do you stop and when you say this is good enough and when you carry on. So that's why as an entrepreneur, it could take very long for Calibrator to launch something, because they really want it to be perfect. So communicating with the different profiles, and I am going to be conscious of time. Profiles all communicate differently. And this is why it's important to know the profile that you have and the profile of someone else. Because if I want to talk to Sam, who I know is a coach, I'm not going to speak to you in the same way that I'm going to speak to a catalyst, or how am I going to speak to someone that's in the same profile of me. And I have the responsibility as a cultivator to make sure that I don't always use language that resonates with me, because I'm going to bore a coach and I'm going to bore a catalyst, and we're not going to connect. So there's 4 core energies, as we said, the activating, inspiring, sustaining, and refining. And how that works is activating, ignites, and accelerates change. And we said it's the calibrator, the catalyst, and the champion. And you need to understand that there are 4 questions and learning styles for each different energy. Okay, so activating energies will only focus on the visual. So if you explain something to me, I send something to a catalyst in writing, they're going to be like, no, just draw me a picture, or they'll get out the flip board, you know, their charts. And those people irritate me. I'm like, can we just discuss it? Why are you drawing? Those people are activating energies, and they want to ask the what questions. What do you mean? What? Get to the point. They're very much what, and they want to know what is happening. They don't want you to go into detail. The minute you go into detail, they switch off. And that's where I have to be very careful with my boss and the founder of Contribution Compass, Carl, because he's a champion. So I often find him saying to me, okay, let's get to the point. Because I'm so focused on the detail, I've lost it. So I've got to be very careful in how I communicate with him. Inspiring energy, Sam. Focus on who. So it'll be all auditory and who. So they like to listen. They're very good at let's go out for a coffee and sit face to face and let's have a chat about this. I don't want to email. I want to listen to you. Don't show me a picture. Let me have a conversation with you. And that is how they learn from an auditory perspective, and they want to ask the who questions. Then sustaining energy is all about deadlines. When? When must I get it done? They're all about sensory. If you want to teach someone in the sustaining energy space, you show them. You do role play. You say, okay, yeah, you take it. You go play around with it. Come back and see how you feel. They want to actually test and actually do it. They want to be involved in it before they actually ask questions. And then the obviously the refining energy space, which is how, which drives some energies crazy because they want to know the detail. And they are all about digital learning. They want to see all the information. And they're all focused on the word how. So you can pick up some of these things when you're dealing with people, because when you are having a conversation with someone, you might pick up, oh, this person keeps asking how. They could be in the refining energy space. Or this person keeps saying to me, I want to try and do it. Give it to me to try. I want to first experience it. Then you know that person could most likely be in the sustaining energy space. So why is critical to everyone. Everyone wants to know why they are doing it, and that's very important. And every profile will ask why. I'm just going to quickly focus on the power of a balanced team, and say that I know a lot of entrepreneurs are starting off by themselves, and that's perfectly normal. And that's how any business starts off, is with one person that has an amazing idea. But what is important is when you are going to grow your team, firstly, understand who you are as an entrepreneur. Are you a coach? Are you a cultivator? Where are your strengths? Where's your natural energy? But the most important thing is that you need to balance a team when you grow your team in a business. And how do you find that out? You, for instance, need to make sure that there is across the board a very balanced approach to activating, inspiring, sustaining, refining. You'll never get 25, 25, 25, 25. That is perfectly normal. That is impossible. And it will probably be completely by coincidence if you do get that. But what you need is, you can't have a team that has only got high activating energy, because then you guys are never going to execute. If you've got a team that's high inspiring energy, you guys are always going to focus on the people, but you might leave out the very important thing of detail and operations and focus. If you have too much refining energy, you might just get caught up in the detail and never move on it or accelerate in the business. So you need to make sure that each team member in your team, when you add up their totals of their contribution compass profiles, they need to actually balance your team out. There will always be a team that's majority one type of profile. So for instance, in our team in Contribution Compass, we are semi-balanced. I mean, as we're going to grow, we're going to balance it more, because you'll always have a little bit of a skew, but we are more of a coach team, coach champion team. So that's naturally how the team would be built. So now this is very interesting, and I'm going to touch base on it quickly now. And that is what we encourage entrepreneurs to do if they find that their contribution compass profile. If you are a champion and you want to know, okay, who do I hire next? And if I want 3 team members in my business, who do I hire? We do the skip 1, skip 2 method. And what that is you would first hire a connector, and then you would skip 2 and you would hire a conductor. Then you would have a trio of people that would be quite balanced, because you'd have someone in the sales marketing side, you'll have someone in the people standing side, and then you'll have someone in the refining energy side. Same happens if you are a custodian. You would skip 1, you go conductor, and then you skip 2 and you go to champion. So it's basically skip 1, skip 2. This is not to say it's foolproof. It is a guideline to say, how do you hire people? Because people always want to hire the same person that they are, because we like ourselves. We want to hire like-minded people. So what we need to be very cautious of is, when you're hiring someone, you need to understand their energy. And are you hiring this person because you get on with them and because you guys see eye to eye? Or is this good for the business to grow? So you need to be very careful when you hire the new person in a team, as to how best is this going to serve my dream and my passion of my idea, and how is this going to grow the business? So that's basically, for entrepreneurs, the best advice that Contribution Compass could give any entrepreneur is, find out where your space is, find out your natural energy, accept what you're not naturally good at, hire in the right people that can help you to be good at the things you aren't, and look at how you're going to grow your team to make sure that you get the best contribution from all the team members. So being cautious of time, I know we've got 10 minutes left, Sam. And as a cultivator, I've been very cautious of time, checking all the detail, making sure that I'm going through everything at the right pace. If it was a catalyst, someone would have gotten stuck on one side, but they might have explained it a lot better because they're more creative. So this is just an example of how people are all different. So does anyone have any questions? Or Sam, do you wanna have any input to the presentation?
Yeah, thank you very much, Karen. You can take off your slides so we can see everybody. Yes, I purposefully invited Nelly Swab, who I know she has done a profile, and she had she's been overseeing that at her previous company. Nelly Swab, do you want to comment on what we have just heard from Karen? Feel free to show your face, colleagues. And Nelly Swab?
Okay, thank you so much, Karen, and thank you so much, Sam, for this. Yes, indeed, I participated in this. I was introduced in it, I think, in 2019, when I started using it, and we started doing our own profile as my team. And spot on, Karen, it does exactly what you were just explaining there in terms of balancing the team. And what is also nice about it, it spikes some kind of self-awareness within you to know what kind of a person you are and why certain things you do them in a particular manner. It's very interesting. Yeah, that's what is lovely about it. And also some kind of team awareness. You know, as a manager, you begin to know who to assign certain things to, because now you know where will it flow, who has a high flow on certain activities, and you know, and as a result, you complement each other as a team, and it makes you to work better more than anything. Because in most times, we spend a lot of time trying to figure each other out and fighting, not knowing why certain, you know, so and so is so slow in doing certain things. You feel like it's not contributing, but the truth of it is that you do not understand the person and why they are doing certain things in a certain manner. And this really opens the veil, and it's really a lovely tool, I must say. And that's the gift of having this tool as part of your team, you know. Yeah. Thanks, man, for that.
Thanks, Nelly. Thank you very much. Even myself, I mean, Karen mentioned that I am a coach, not because by profession I'm a coach, but that really has been quite helpful with difficult side of business like numbers and figures. When it revealed to me that I had a very low refining energy, I really became very conscious of the fact that I am very much strong on inspiring energy, but my business will not live from that alone. I need to be aware that I need to bring my refining energy side. And then, of course, have sustaining energy. Colleagues will make sure that we deliver on what we promise the clients. And yeah, so I benefit a lot from the champion and the connector sub profiles of mine. They really, really help me. And I really understand myself very much as a result of this tool. I thought I understood myself better before I did the profile. Of course, as I said, I've trained, I'm a licensed, I know that I work a lot of different profiles, so I learned a lot as I look at people's profiles. Yes, any question from anybody?
Yes,
Yes, Rapula. Oh, sorry, is that Rapula?
No, it's David.
David, yes, David.
Yeah, it's David Monore. Sam, tell me, what Karen had just displayed, can we have it maybe, I mean, her presentation? I happened to join a bit late, and
yes.
I liked very much what she was presenting to us.
Yeah, we are recording it. It's gonna be available as a link. We'll send you the link of the video, and you can watch it again.
I can really appreciate that. Thanks very much.
Sure.
And other videos as well, because I'm gonna walk out from 10 o'clock. I have other meetings. I will be back at 3. I don't know if you'll still be having something by then, but yes. I really enjoy your session. I was introduced by my friend called Elvis Lituva. I'm with a strong belief that you know him very well. I really enjoy this. I wish I had the whole day whereby I will interact with you guys, but I really enjoy and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, David. We'll certainly share all the links of all the video sessions. And of course, I mean, we are a community. I mean, if we need a full day workshop with Karen and I, I'm sure we can think about that. We'll consult each other and see how we can empower you a little bit more. Of course, the good thing is for you, the best thing is for you to do the profile and know your profile before even you come into a workshop. Then it will really be fascinating. And Nelly will tell you, you get such a comprehensive report on yourself, like you have never ever received it before in your own life. And every time you go back there. Thank you very much, David. We'll definitely share.
Thanks very much. I will indeed appreciate that.
Sure.
Anyone?
Rabula?
Yeah, here's my question to Karen. Can, as an individual, be a neutral person across all different profiles? Is that possible? If not, why? If yes, how does it possible be? Is it because the person woke up in a good mood that morning, decided, no, it's going to be a neutral person across? And secondly, how does this significantly differ with Myers-Briggs? Thank you.
Okay, cool. So to answer one of the questions, Myers-Briggs is a personality type of profile. So it really focuses on you as an individual and in your personal capacity. Whereas Contribution Compass is not a personality test. It is focused on your contribution in the workplace. So it's a lot more focused on teams and how if you read through the Contribution Compass report, it kind of focuses on everything in the workplace environment. Myers-Briggs is an amazing tool, and we find that all of those personality profiling tools are great. But what we often find is if you do Myers-Briggs, your Contribution Compass profiler complements it. So it was very interesting. What I came out as Myers-Briggs, all the characteristics that the Myers-Briggs listed is very similar to a cultivator. So it said things like, Karen, you want order, you want, you can be quite judgmental, you want, so that's kind of like, because that's my underlying personality traits, it could complement Contribution Compass. So we don't say do the one or the other. We say both is always great. Even Enneagram is really great. I came out as a 6, which is very risk averse person, which is exactly what a cultivator is. Then to answer your second question. So firstly, you have to answer the question, not as you would like to be, as how you ask. You've got to be very, you've got to have a good setting. You've got to have a clear mind, and you've got to answer the questions as who you are and as honest as possible. But we do get some square profiles. We call them the square profiles. And what that is that diagram of it was all like skewed, or the spidergram was all over. Some people come out as a square, and it means two things. Number one, it could mean that the person is not having enough of an opinion in their answering of the questions. They're playing it too safe when they answer the questions, and they're not being honest enough. But they'll always come out as some energy after that. So a lot of square profiles, funny enough, come out as a coach. But when we see a square profile, we don't automatically ask someone to redo it, because you can also have a square profile if you are basically someone that has been a jack of all trades your whole life. You've always had to do everything in a business. You've always had a role where you had to do everything and you had to learn a little bit of everything. So there's two ways to go about it. If you see someone with a square profile or a fairly neutral, jack of all trades type of profile, is you ask them firstly, does the end result resonate with you? You ask them questions about their history, like, did you ever do a lot of jobs? Do you often find yourself doing a lot of things? And then thirdly, you ask them if it was honest, and then you start debriefing them, basing them on questions. And if you see, oh no, this person's asking a lot of how questions for someone that has got a very balanced profile, you suggest that they redo it. It doesn't happen often though, but we do come across some that we have got a bit of a question with.
Akona? Thanks, Karen. We can't hear you, Akona. I'm not sure what the problem is. You are unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Yes, I'm not sure either.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Hear me now? Okay, perfect. I want to thank Karen for fantastic. Thanks, Butsem, for inviting me. It was really worthwhile to get out of bed this morning. So my question is, or my comment, I resonate more with the cultivator contribution characteristics.
Yeah, you cut Akona.
Akona, can I suggest that you switch off your video? Maybe it must
switch the video off. Is this better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Am I clearer? Am I more better audible?
Yes.
Okay, great. Right, so I'm saying on my side, my persona or my contribution compass points me more towards the cultivator. However, I'm not very keen on complex projects and stuff, so that's one disadvantage when I see the characteristics there. So being that, I'm more on the growth enhancing element of it. So knowing people and having the background in psychology, I know that people are quite dynamic and growth happens quite often where people are concerned. So then how often do you take a test, a contribution compass test, and does it always point you to the right direction, or does it box you because now you've identified all of those things, and so like overlooks the dynamic elements of being human?
So that's a very good question, and we often get that asked, do I take my contribution compass test often? No, you don't need to, because your natural energy should not change. You should always come out as the same profile. I took my test again a few years ago. I mean, I took my test 3 years ago, and then I did it again. Funny enough, my profile state is cultivator, but my energy and the diagram of my spider changed slightly, and I'll tell you why. In my previous job, I was forced to be creative because, as I told you, I didn't really do my profile. So I had to, and I was in the advertising industry, I had forced to be creative. If you looked at my previous profile, I had a lot more activating energy. I still came out as a cultivator, but the diagram was slightly different. But then when I did my profile recently, my activation energy dropped quite substantially, and I had more towards the sustaining energy. And the reason for that is because Paul and Carl, who I work with, are both champion energies, and I rely, and because now we know exactly which energy we are, I would hand the ball to them when it was creative. I'd be like, you know what, I'm not going to do this now. This is creative. Yeah, here you go, you do it. So my energy dropped with the activating energy. So you will change. You can't say that everyone's going to get the exact profile that they have if they do it over the years. But the point is, your natural energy should not change. That is something that is within you. And if it does change sometimes, it will maybe be between the pendulum. And it could be the day that you did the test or circumstantial. But generally, you will never ever shift within the three energies. So if you're in activating or within your pendulum. But generally, like one of my clients shifted from coach to champion. She says she resonated with champion more after she did it for 2 years. But that could have been, when she filled out the coach, she was in a different space. But there's never ever drastic changes, and it's always normally the same energy overall. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. It does.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Akona. That was a very good question. Karen, we time is run out. I'm going to ask you to just wrap up for us in terms of checking out a typical coaching question. What are you taking away from this engagement with us this morning, Karen, and what do you think the way forward will be? And that will be your way of wrapping up for us.
Yeah. So it's interesting. The minute you said that, I was like, how? And I've been taken off guard because as a cultivator, I'm like, oh, what am I going to check out? I need to plan all these things. But it's just funny how all the energies are so different. So for me, I think it's been a great learning to meet with entrepreneurs specifically. I know that we generally, I don't go directly to the end user because we are Contribution Compass and we are, partner centric. So obviously having, partnered with Sam from Kometsa, it would be interesting to see, which people would like to identify what their profile is. And I would be really, really interested to get some people to do their profile. And I'm happy to join with Sam to do a debrief on some of them if you want to. I think it's quite interesting, especially with entrepreneurs. You guys have got a lot more questions because it's your business and how much you value. It's like your child, So when you learn what profile you are, you really want to ask, okay, who must I hire next? Give me more information. Like it's because this is your, this is your baby. So I'm very passionate about entrepreneurs. I'm not an entrepreneur myself, but I just know how much effort it takes to be an entrepreneur. And I'd be more than happy to assist Sam in any debriefs if anyone decides to purchase a profiler through Sam.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you very much. Yes, as Karen has stated, colleagues, we are licensed to conduct those profiles for you, and then Karen and the teams are available if you do it for your team to really debrief, because it's not just about taking the profile, but it's about understanding what the profiles you are and your team are and how to use it. As well. Thank you very much. It's been very insightful, but I'm sure, Karen, we'll continue talking with these entrepreneurs and help them really build their businesses and their teams.
Yes, and nice to meet all the entrepreneurs. And I must admit, I always have entrepreneurship envy. I always look up to entrepreneurs because I know it's something that I can't do. But it's something that obviously a cultivator needs to be paired with. So it's just such a beautiful relationship. So thank you so much for letting me share my story and what Contribution Compass is. And have an amazing rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you. We have 25 minutes break, and then we'll be joined by our colleagues from India, ONA, exploring interconnectedness, collaboration, and team effectiveness using organizational network analysis. They're from the organization called Org Lens. It's like organization lenses. We'll see you at past. Thank you, Karen. Have a beautiful day. My greetings to the colleagues at Contribution Compass.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
And we'll share the link later, colleagues. It will be made public, so you will catch up on some of the missed points.